Hello guys. So today we're going to be going over the AWS CDK or Cloud Development Kit. I just started kind of playing around with this for my day job a couple days ago, and it has been a whole lot of fun. It lets me do so much stuff that makes my job easier, and it's great. So I figured, why not share it a little bit if you're not familiar with it. This is going to be a short little tutorial on how to basically get up and going and just dive right in. I'm going to be a little light on some of the details, but as long as you're somewhat familiar with AWS services and the possibly even CloudFormation, then you should probably be able to understand most of it, or if not, know how to find the documentation you need. I will be sharing some links for that, which will pretty much tell you everything you need to know. But yeah. First thing is head on over to aws.amazon.com/CDK, and you get this lovely little web page right here. Goes on to a brief little overview of what it is. In their words, the AWS Cloud Development Kit is an open source software development framework to define your cloud application resources using familiar programming languages. Basically, it lets you programmatically create CloudFormation templates using most of the popular languages such as JavaScript, TypeScript, Python, Java, C#, and a couple others. For this tutorial, we'll be using TypeScript just because it's what I use on a daily basis. But there's basically, if you're using AWS, it will support your language unless you're using something really weird out there. I don't know. There's a lot of languages, but for the most part, you should be covered. If you want a little bit more of a rundown on what it is and how it came to be, I would recommend watching this video over here from the CTO of Amazon, Warner Vogels. It's a really good video. Yeah, I watched it myself, and it is pretty good. So, yeah, when you get a chance, I would definitely recommend watching it. But anyways, let's get started and start building something. So, on this page, if you go ahead and click on the Get Started with AWS CDK, it will take us to how to get started. Alrighty, so we can skip most of this. One thing is, before we get started, you will need to have the AWS CLI credentials and such set up already. I am not going to walk through that because it can be a little time consuming, and then I don't feel like having to worry about credentials and stuff being displayed on stream. So if you don't have it already, pause this video and go set it up. There are a million guides on how to do that. I believe this page right here will even walk you through it. Another thing is you will have to have Node.js installed, anything higher than 10.13 or later up here, and apparently not 13 through 13.6, but generally you should have this covered already if you already have Node installed. I can't think of anything unless your system's really out of date. But in general, you should be covered as long as you have Node.js installed. This right here will walk you through setting up the credentials if you don't already have it. Righty. So next thing is you will need TypeScript installed. You can go ahead and just do npm-g install TypeScript, and it will get that for you. Which let me go ahead and get that installed because I uninstalled it just for this video. So first thing is npm install -g install TypeScript. Should only take a second. Next thing is we need to install the AWS CDK itself, which is also a Node package. So npm install -g. I guess it didn't matter which order I put that in. AWS CDK. And that should be done. Alrighty. So next thing is we need to, well, first let's go ahead and just to verify that you actually have the CDK installed and to make yourself feel better, go ahead and type CDK --version just to see what version you have. This is going to be based on 2.20.0, which is at the time of this video the newest version. Okay. Next thing we need to do is actually to actually get our account bootstrapped. This is just, it's kind of a one-time thing you need to do per account if you haven't already used the CDK before, and it's fairly painless to do. But that is done by typing CDK bootstrap AWS : / your account number. Now, if you don't already have your account number, but you do have the CLI installed, an easy way to get that is typing AWS STS get -caller -identity. And there is my account ID, which is right here. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that. And now back to the bootstrapping. Do CDK bootstrap AWS / the account number / your region, which in my case I'm going to be in US East 1. Go ahead and push enter. And now I already have my bootstrap, so this is probably going to be a lot faster than yours. I don't remember how long it took, but it's initially, but I know it's not too long, so I'll just give it a minute so everybody else can get caught up. Alrighty, so now that we have that done, next thing is to actually get a project started. So first we need to make a folder. We are going to call this let's just do CDK -example and change into that. Okay, now we need to actually initialize the CDK app itself. That can be done by typing CDK init app and then your language that you want to do it in. We're going to be doing TypeScript, so do hyphen language TypeScript. That shouldn't take too long. It just needs to install the base application or node modules. Takes about 30 seconds, I think. See how accurate I am on that. Not bad, pretty close. Alrighty, so now that we have this initialized, let's go ahead and open this up in VS Code. Let's get this switched over to the actual VS Code window. Alrighty. Now we have our little app here. Okay. So, there's two main files we need to worry about here. The first is under bin and CDK example.ts, or it'll be named whatever you decide to name your app when you initialized it. This is basically like the starting point of your entire application. Technically, you don't need to do anything here. I like to at least fill out this environment down here along to put in my account ID and everything, mostly because I have a bunch of different AWS profiles, and putting it in here will prevent you from accidentally deploying your app to the wrong profile, which could be really bad. So I like to just do this to be safe. But yeah. Okay, so next thing is under lib and CDK example stack. This is going to be where we are spending almost all of our time. This is going to be where we build out all the little constructs and everything that we need. So go ahead and delete this stuff because we don't need it. We gotta build our own. Alrighty. So first thing we're going to add to our stack here, which is eventually going to become a CloudFormation stack, is going to be a bucket. Because let's keep it simple. Buckets are easy. So first thing we need to do is import the bucket module. Actually, before we do that, I'm going to take out this and just rename it so it's a little easier to work with. So this should be extend. Oh, start as CDK. Delete these. And just makes things a little easier for us. CDK.stack and CDK.stack props. Okay, now we got that. Now we need to import the S3 module so we can start making some buckets. So import AWS underscore S3 as S3. From AWS CDK-lib. Okay. Now, one moment. Okay, and we're back. Okay, so we imported the S3 module. So now we need to go ahead and start writing out what we need for this bucket. So it's fairly simple. So I'll start with the const, name it bucket, keep it short and easy, equals a new s3.bucket. Scope is going to be this, and the ID of the bucket is, we'll just call it CDK example bucket. Sure, I'll go with what they say. Alrighty, so next we need to add the props to this bucket. So for the props, we are going to first start with the actual name of the bucket that we want. So this would be bucket name. I'll call this CDK example bucket. I like to keep them the same as the ID when I name things. You don't have to, but yeah, makes just personal preference really. But before we go any further, if you ever wanted to look what properties are available to you, you can pretty easily just hold down Control and click on the construct name up here, and it will take you to the definition where you can see all the things you can use. If you go down to property or bucket props, which is somewhere down here. There it is. Okay, so here's all the different things you can add. So metrics, inventory, cores rules, where was the name at? Oh, up here. So bucket name. But yeah, basically if you don't want to take the time to look up the documentation, you basically have it right here. Everything's very well documented or commented, so you can pretty much find everything you need here. But anyways, let's get out of there and get back to our bucket. So next thing is, in this case, we're going to disable versioning because we don't want it in this case. So versioning false. Why am I getting it underlined for that? I spell it wrong. I probably did. Oh, versioned. It's not versioning. There we go. Next is we're going to make this not public. We only want our other resources to be able to get to it. So public read access false. Next is a removal policy. This is what happens when we destroy the stack itself. You technically can ignore it if you don't add a removal policy. Basically, it just stays there until you manually delete it. But I like to put removal policies in all my things just because when I destroy a stack, I would like everything related to it to disappear because I forget things a lot and I don't want random services lying around that I'm not using anymore. So to do that, we will do a removal policy. Now it's slightly different than the other services or constructs. I'm not entirely sure why buckets have it differently, but it's still pretty simple. So CDK dot removal policy dot destroy. Now, one thing with buckets is if there are objects in the bucket, this will fail on its own. So we have to add something to actually empty the bucket before it tries to destroy it. Otherwise, it will not work. So to do that, we need to add auto delete objects and set that to true. Okay. So this way, once the stack is destroyed, it'll delete all the objects and then it'll destroy the bucket itself. Okay, so go ahead and save that, and we now have a bucket. To test this, let's go ahead and open up a terminal here. And then we can actually see the CDK in action. So make sure you're inside your project folder here. First of all, I like to do this before I ever deploy my app or deploy the stack to my account. I like to do CDK synth, which is short for synthesize. This basically turns your code into a CloudFormation stack. You don't have to do it because when you actually deploy the app, it'll do it for you. But I like to do this ahead of time just to make sure there's no potential issues in the way I have my code set up, and then that the formation itself is good. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, and that's done. If you wanted to actually view it yourself, you should have a cdk.out folder up here. And there is, which one is it? I think it is this one, yeah. And in here you can actually see the CloudFormation template that it creates in all its glory. So with that, let's go ahead and actually get this deployed. So CDK deploy. And this will vary in a lot depending on how many things you have being built out. We just have a bucket right now, so it should be fairly fast. It'll tell you if it needs to make like potential security changes, IAM changes, anything like that. You'll have to actually approve it first. It gives you a pretty good breakdown of everything. We're going to go ahead and say yes. Basically, for this one, it has actually make a Lambda function that is run, which is the part that actually deletes the objects inside of the bucket for you. So it needs to make roles and some policies for it. So that's why we're getting that now. Let's go ahead and say yes. And it will start creating this formation and adding it to the account. Okay. Now if we actually go into our account, we can see this in action. Oh, I forgot to delete my whole bucket. So it's gonna fail. Because obviously you can't have a bucket with the same name, and I was trying to run this earlier and I forgot to delete my old stack. But that's an easy enough fix. It gets to show you what it happens when it fails. So the CloudFormation stack failed to create. It rolls it all back and nothing happens. So let's go ahead and actually delete that bucket. I'm actually going to just delete this entire stack that I had made. Shouldn't take too long, hopefully. Actually, I think it's done already. Let's see. Yep. Okay, so let's go ahead and try that again. Yes, we want to approve it. Okay, and let's switch over to our AWS console here so we can see it in action. So here we can actually see the stack being created. Go ahead and click on it. We can see that it is... Oh, that's not my bucket that it's having issues with. Okay, we gotta name this slightly differently. I picked this stupid generic name for the bucket, so it's obviously not gonna work. Let's just make this something a little less common. Okay, so let's go ahead back into here. Let's just name this. I'll just put Fable Bits on the end. We should be good there. Now I can go ahead and try this one more time. And this is the first time I ever actually had to run into this problem. Usually my names are really strange, and I don't have to worry about this. Okay, let's get back over here and see what's going on. Okay. Oh, yeah, that one. Okay, now it's actually being created. So, I mean, as you can see, it's a CloudFormation stack, and it's all there. Go ahead and click on resources, and we can actually see that it is making a roll and a bucket. Okay. And now if we go over to our bucket here, see, we have a bucket. And it was that easy. Okay, so let's get back to coding some stuff. So now that we have a bucket, let's go ahead and do some more fun stuff. Let's add a VPC, because, I mean, we need one. Because we're going to make a web server environment, basically. So to get a VPC, we will need to import the EC2 module. So AWS underscore EC2 as EC2. Okay, bucket is good. Just put some comments here, because why not? Buckets. So const VPC equals new VC2.VPC as CDK example VPC. Okay, so first let's give it a name. So VPC name, we'll call it that. Next, let's define the CIDR blocks. So it'll be CIDR 10.0.0.0/16. NAT gateways, we do not want any. That's pretty simple to do. And now we can set up our subnets that we want in our VPC. So that is subnet configuration, and that will be an array. Our first subnet will be a public subnet. We will call this name public CIDR mask 24. And then the type of subnet. Oops, EC2 dot subnet type public. Go with that. Am I missing something here? Yeah. What am I missing? Oh, there. Subnet type. There we go. Okay, so there it is, our public. If you want to see what kinds of subnet types you can use, you can just hold down Control, click on subnet type, and it'll take you here. We got private isolated. You got isolated. You got private, or private with NAT, then private and public. And honestly, don't understand the difference of a lot of these, but I believe your traditional private subnet would be private isolated, which is what we'll be using for the next one, because that gives us a private subnet without a NAT gateway, which we don't want because we don't need it, and I don't want to pay for it. So this one will be called name. I'll just do that, but this has to be private isolated. I also want to name these differently so it's easier to differentiate them in our console. So we'll do CDK example, private and public. Okay. And what else? Now let's add a removal policy to this one. So this one's slightly different. We don't add it as a prop to the VPC like we did the bucket. We have to add it like this. So VPC dot apply removal policy, and then CDK dot removal policy dot destroy. So that's how we'll have to do it for the other constructs that we add. Okay, and that does it for the VPC. Go ahead and test and make sure that was done correctly by typing CDK synth. And this one will take a little bit longer. Okay, so we haven't had any errors there. Let's go ahead and deploy it. Yeah, you see here, it synthesizes it again when you deploy. So you don't have to do it beforehand. It's just, I prefer to. So now it's updating our CloudFormation stack. Oops, I messed up my sizing here. Alrighty, almost done. And generally, they have some pretty good defaults set on these constructs when you go to add them. So you don't have to declare every little thing. I mean, you certainly can if you want to, but like in this case, we didn't really have to do very much. Very little properties actually needed. But that went ahead and finished. Go ahead and check out our stack. So now we can see all of the VPC stuff it added. If we head over to our VPCs, we can see our CDK example VPC is right here. And we have all the fun stuff. So, yeah. Let's go ahead and add some more stuff. Let's see, what are we going to add next? Let's add a security group. Why not? We're going to need one for our the EC2 instance we're eventually going to add. So let's go ahead and do that before we actually get the VPC or the EC2 instance created. So security groups are actually part of EC2, so we don't need to import anything else. So we can go ahead and put in our comment there and const security group. So EC2 security group. Yeah, I love you, Copilot. Oops. Most of the time. Okay, so yeah, the first thing we need is to actually declare which VPC this is going to be included in. It is going to be part of the VPC that we just created up here. So we're just going to reference that. Next is we're going to do the name, which is going to be CDK example -SG. And we can declare some rules here. So we want all outbound traffic to be allowed. So that can be done with just a simple allow all outbound true. Next, we want to add some more rules to it. So that can be done by just going down to security group. That add ingress rule. For the peer, we're going to do that. So we're going to allow any HTTP connection through. Next is the port, should be 80, and then the description. So allow HTTP traffic from anywhere. So that'll add a inbound rule for HTTP. Go ahead and copy this block because we want to add one for HTTPS as well. So we can just change this to 443 and allow HTTPS. Next is we're going to add a removal policy to the security group. So security group dot apply removal policy destroy. And that's it. Now we are going to add let's add the instance that we're actually going to be using the security group with. So const, we'll do EC2 instance equals new EC2.instance with this, and we will call this CDK example. Let's name that EC2. First is the VPC that it's going to be in. We're just going to do the same thing as we did for the security group. And then we're going to give it a name. So this will be instance name, like that. What am I doing here? Oh, right. It's just telling us that we haven't picked all the stuff yet, but we're getting there. So next we want to add which subnets this is going to be part of. So VPC subnets. We're going to go ahead and add subnet type to the subnet type public. Whoops. Okay. And next is which role you want to. Well, I'm not going to do it right now, but if you want to add a role to it, you would just go ahead and add it here. But I don't feel like going through that, so let's go ahead and get rid of this red line because it's annoying. So machine image. For this, we're going to do a new EC2 Amazon Linux image. We're gonna go with Amazon Linux 2, which is right here. Amazon Linux generation, Amazon Linux 2. Okay. And what else do we need? The instance type. Okay, so add that above, instance type, EC2 instance type of we're going to use ec2.instance class t2. And now we need to add the size of the instance. So ec2 instance size micro. Yeah, come on. What else? Next, we need to add a key name to this instance. So, which you would need to do beforehand, or you can use an existing key that you already have. I have one somewhere. Let me just figure out which one I want to use. Let's see. Where are my key pairs? I only have one, apparently. So, well, let's actually go ahead and I can just make one real quick. So I'll call it CDK example. And if you're not sure how you can actually do this, you can do it through the console, through the EC2 console, and on the left, under network and security, you go to key pairs and you can create one from there and download it. It's pretty straightforward. Okay. So this is going to be CDK example, not key, just CDK example. And that will do it for the EC2 instance. Next we want to, since this is going to be a web server, we want to actually have Get Nginx running with the user script when this instance is launched. So to do that, first we need to add a thing. So down here, we can do EC2 instance that add user data, and this is going to be called user data script, which we have not made yet, but we will in a moment. And before we forget about it, let's add a removal policy to this. That apply removal policy destroy. Okay. So now go ahead and we'll go to the very top here. And we're going to need to import the user data script from a file. So we need to actually import read file sync. So, oops, read file sync from FS like that. And in here we will add a const user data script equals read file sync. Let's change that to lib user data.sh. Okay, and save that, and then head over to lib, create a new file, call it user-data.sh. Okay, now let's go ahead and make this bash script. And bash sudo. Let's actually get the server updated as well while it's launching. And install Nginx. Do Amazon Linux extras install. Yes, Nginx 1. And so I start the service. So system control, start Nginx, and then enable it. So it restarts on its own, and that should be good. Okay, let's go ahead and sense this just to make sure it's all good. So kind of added a lot there since we last tried it. Oh, no errors there. Let's go ahead and get this deployed. This will take a lot longer this time because we actually are spinning up an instance. So hopefully it's not too long. Yep, go ahead. Well, first let's verify it. So we got the security group changes. So you can see it's adding an ingress of 80 and 43 and out of everything. And yeah, go ahead and accept it. And then we wait. Which I will be right back while this is going. Okay, so looks like the CDK finished its job. Now we're just waiting on the instance itself to finish initializing. So if we go back to our console, we can see it being created here. It's still initializing, so we just have to wait for that. Once it's done, we should be able to visit the DNS down here and see an Nginx start page if we did this all correctly. It just likes to take its time. Let's see if we get a log up here. No, not yet. Oh, is it done? No, it's not. Oh, it's still loading. But as you can see, it opened up, it launched it in the VPC that we made earlier. So, just as we configured it. This is the fun part. Waiting. Especially if you're fucking impatient like I am. Still not done. Oh, looks like we got a log here now. So, we should be good to go. Looks like. Go ahead and close. Go back to our instance. And open the address. Looks like we still forgot to set something up here. What was it? What am I missing? Let's see. Yeah, it's annoying. I don't feel like setting up SSH. But assuming you actually got the script set up correctly, actually, let's see. We might be able to see what happened or what we didn't do if we go into the logs here. So it's all set up correctly. I think. I don't know. Whatever. But either way, as long as you set up the script correctly, there's probably another configuration thing I forgot to do with Nginx, but then we would have a running web server. We have one right now, it just needs some tweaks, but you can obviously see that we got it installed and everything just like we told it in our configuration. So let's say we don't want the stack anymore. What do? It's real simple. You just go ahead and go to our command line here, CDK, and destroy. It will ask you to verify if you actually want to do that. We're going to go ahead and say yes. And then it'll go through the process of destroying all the things in your stack. And as long as you set up removal policies in the services that you defined in here, then it should remove everything for you. If not, then you would need to go back and review it or delete those services manually or whatever you wish to do with them. But in our case, everything that we have defined in here will be removed. So it'll be as if this never even existed. But yeah, that is about it for this tutorial. So if you need any other help, I would definitely recommend checking out this website over here. Back on the Cloud Development Kit page. Actually, no, over here on resources, you can go ahead to either the developer guide or the construct library, and you can basically find anything you need to know here. So say we wanted to know what was in the, how to actually define, let's do buckets because those are easy. Let's go to AWS -S3. You can go down to constructs bucket, and you can see all with some pretty nice examples and everything you can add and so on. So if you don't know how to do it, this is where you go to find out. And if you need any other help, there's plenty of it. Just Google it. But anyways, have a great day. Make sure you keep track of all your services here so you don't end up getting charged for anything. And talk to you next time. Bye.